Good morning, friends. It's Tuesday, the 18th of August. It's a new moon. It's the next new moon called Setting Sun Woman in the cycle of new moons, as we've been discussing. If I come to the board, this is the 9th new moon, but we're about 2 weeks after this point. If you happen to catch the last video, you'd realize that we've hit the center. We're past now the center of, or the bottom or the middle of summer, and we're right about here on the wheel. We're still a little more than 4 weeks from the end of summer, so we're about 4 weeks away from this point on the wheel. So when I put out the call to the ancestors, I got several interesting little snippets of message. I'm using 5 totally different decks than I have used in the past, and as I have laid out the cards, it's become apparent to me. And before I get to the cards, I do wish to speak to the grandmother, this brand new grandmother. So we've left the time of She Who Heals. She was the grandmother of the 8th moon cycle. And now we're in the time of Setting Sun Woman. And she is the keeper of tomorrow's dreams and goals, and the guardian of the needs of the next 7 generations. She is the mother of the proper use of our free will, the will to live, the will to survive, willpower in general. She is the keeper of Mother Earth's resources and the guardian of preservation. It's harvest time, so that makes sense because we want to preserve for the winter those things which will nourish us. She teaches us how to preserve and use our resources without wasting anything, how to prepare for tomorrow by planning today, making and meeting goals, how to show concern, dependability, and compassion through the ways we live. In other words, she shows us how to walk our talk. She teaches us how to properly use our will, using our intents to provide for future generations. And she teaches us basically how to live with the truth. In my prayers and preparation, because tonight's new moon comes in at, I believe it's 10:41 p.m., I thought long and hard about how the natural flow of things is required of us. Not pushing the river, not trying to avoid or be the ostrich and put our heads in the sand. So the 5 decks that I was inspired to use are all from Colette Baron Reid, and I've never used them collectively together in this way. So this old dog can learn some new tricks sometimes. But I was gobsmacked, as the Brits would say, about the nature of this particular reading. And so this is for the period of time today, right through until the full moon, which happens just in the beginning of October. In the beginning of September. I'm jumping ahead because I'm excited, I think. So I've still used the same format, the same medicine wheel format to lay out the cards. And today I have cards that connect us with crystals to use at this time, because I thought that would be helpful for people as we come into a time of emergence. I have goddesses. I have, of course, Setting Sun Woman. I have a proper tarot, also by Colette, obviously. And then I have some information on the chakra points And this should help us, give us some tools with which to ride through the next 2 weeks. So the first card, as we always start in the East position, is the Ace of Water. If you were in traditional tarot, that would be the Ace of Cups. And this is interesting because this is an emotional new beginning card. Always cups relate to water. Water relates to emotion. So this is the beginning of something new. And as we go through the whole of this, I think it'll become clear what Spirit is asking of us at this time. So, Ace of Water. Emotional new beginnings after this long, stressful time of the pandemic, as our lives begin to open up little steps at a time, getting more to being open again. Hopefully some of the stressors will go, and I think the request that we make for a new emotional beginning is important. So in the South, we jump to this position, the Queen of Fire. And she is about creative collaboration and connections, passion inspired by Spirit and our connection to Spirit. She's also the artist. So she co-creates not only with herself, but with others and with Spirit. And she is about manifesting new beginnings. So we are expected to be the artist on our own life's canvas. And so now the energy builds. In the West position, we have the Page of Earth. And this is about reestablishing our basic financial stability, our ability to create home and have food on the table and cover our bills, and not be afraid about that. Any page is very much about having the youthful zest for life and the real passion or push that some of us begin to lose a little bit as we get older. But the page is considered a youngster, and so these are about the new beginnings. The energy, the artistic creation here from the Queen of Fire now has very practical beginnings with this Page of Earth. In the North position here, we have the Three of Fire. So this tells me that what she has created, what energy we put into it, now gives us a collaborative expression of real, the train is rolling down the tracks, and it's going and we're in control of it. So this is a very good path. This is the basic path, or the foundational path, upon which we are moving forward. Now, the message, the anchor card, was the Fates in protection position. And that tells me very much that there are things that, if you know what the Serenity Prayer is, this is a time to tell yourself this Serenity Prayer. This is about karma. This is about things we have put in action in the past by our thoughts, our agendas, our behaviors, our choices. It's about the use of will. And so this ties in very well with the grandmother of this moon cycle. So there are times to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, which is a Kenny Rogers reference there. There are times when we have no control over the train, but most of the time what's controlling the train is our thoughts and actions. So just know that things will happen, and we need to go into what the Buddhists call the place of radical acceptance. Now, the next card in support of that is what's going to help us really is the truth. Truth be told. This is a grandmother owl. We need to be scrupulous in the next 2 weeks about the denial that we might have had about the real reasons for the circumstances in our lives. What has created the fate. So this is about absolute honesty. And you'll see in a few minutes how this ties in with one of the other cards. If we do that, if we accept what's happening, the fates, we are scrupulously honest about our part in that and where we need to be going, what we come with is deep knowing. This is Gnostic consciousness, and any students of my psychospiritual development class know about the soul consciousness, the thing that we know is right without any flags or markers telling us. Deep Gnostic consciousness is that intuition we have, and that means we are in connection with our soul. If we do that, if we accept the synchronicities, if we accept the messages, the dreams, the awarenesses, and work with them, we have an opportunity to do something that I have been waiting since the beginning of the pandemic in March when things shut down. This has come to the edge. The true nature of our earth walk. Come to the edge means have no fear. Get ready to go and jump on faith. Faith and fear cannot exist in the same continuum. We must manifest. So this co-creative beginning, this card sits right beside the emotional health, emotional new beginning, and these fire cards. So we have walked a complete circle with this journey of, 8 cards. I was very pleased with that, but the next 9 cards in support of this reading really overwhelmed me, and I'm pulling all this at the same time Brian's having problems with the camera this morning. So I'm glad we got that corrected, because very simply I pulled the crystals that will support us in this next 2 weeks. Watermelon tourmaline. Watermelon tourmaline is an ascension stone that, like a real watermelon, is green on the outside and pink in the middle. Heart chakra. Heart chakra. The projective, externalized front heart chakra and the rear heart chakra. So that's an important stone. If you have it, great. And if you don't, you might want to find some. Moonstone. Moonstone goes very much with this card. Moonstone is about the same as the moon in tarot, really. Looking at our shadows, allowing that our shadow selves may have caused us not to tell the truth in the past about our lives. But the moon is about just going right at it, going into our shadow selves and the things we don't like, because when you illuminate them, when you bring light, you get inspired in how to change it intuitively, this deep knowing. To be inspired comes from the Latin in spiritus, to have spirit come within. This is your divine walk. Anyway, the final crystal is rose quartz. Again, just like the pink part of watermelon tourmaline. So, 2 heart crystals flanking the shadow. We need to love ourselves deeply and accept the choices that we've made and know how powerful we are to move past this pandemic time, to come to the edge and make new choices. And what are these new choices about? Real basic stuff. Finance, the journey. We are the artist which creates that. So we don't just sit in front of Netflix for the next 2 weeks. We have to start co-creating with the Creator and with Setting Sun Woman. I asked for the chakra cards. The first chakra card was a burst of magic, which relates to the crown chakra. This is, again, tying in with this deep knowing, this creative truth, the fire within. This card cracks me up. It's a Pinocchio kind of dude, and it's a tall tale. This relates to our throat chakra. Why would we want to have that little bit of a warning? Because when we repeat the same story about ourselves over and over and over, we anchor ourselves into a karma that is like spinning your wheels. It's like the person who has terrible relationships over and over again, and they always pick the guy who's got an addiction, or the gal who spends money uncontrollably, that kind of thing. You don't want to spin your wheels. The only way you get out of negative cycles is to stop repeating old stories. So that's the throat chakra. Be careful to monitor what comes out of your mouth. When all of this is said and done, we come right back to the root chakra. And this is roots of abundance. Where does the abundance come from? From coming to the edge, having co-created with the dream, with the energy, a new way of being. So you might get that new job. You might get that new relationship. You might find yourself doing something completely, an avocation that's entirely different, but Spirit is telling us, Setting Sun Woman is telling us that with this information, you're going to be able to walk forward with complete, deep knowing that this is the right direction for you. So if you were $100,000 a year income master practicing accountant, and now you want to go and be an artist, please know that this is fine. You are ready to make a shift. This whole pandemic is a time of shifting, and we have to get out of the navel gazing around us. So finally I pulled 3 goddesses, and the first goddess was Ishtar. And Ishtar is a Mesopotamian goddess, and she is about communion, and the communion that she brings us is our communion with the divine. So again, she is a goddess, an archetype as well as a goddess. She is like Setting Sun Woman, reminding us to connect with Spirit for this deep knowing. She is the goddess protecting that deep knowing. So this is about stripping away the denial and the truths, and not repeating the Pinocchio story here about yourself. The next goddess is Danu. She's a Celtic goddess, and she was the one who birthed magic into the world. So this is the magic, this is the goddess you can utilize when you create this new vision for yourself. And finally, the last goddess was Saraswati. And she's a Hindu goddess. She is about mastery. So please know that when you pursue this new dream, this new life that Setting Sun Woman is directing us toward, this new life allows for a mastery of karma, of consciousness, of intuition, and a new earth walk for the rest of your life if you so choose, because she is about free will and the will to move forward. This little fella here is about the will to move forward. as I said, I'm gobsmacked by this. The flow, the fluidity of this reading. It's one of the sharpest and best that we've had so far in this series of new moon and full moon and eclipse readings. It's all in your hands, my friends. It's all in your hands. Take some time to journal, to go sit by the water while it's still warm enough to do so, to do ceremony. Ritual and ceremony is extremely important. Don't forget to put your crystals in the moonlight tonight, sitting on the salt. Don't forget that part, that's important. If you haven't already done so last night, please do so tonight. And know that this tells us how supported we are. You do not need to feel alone. This is the journey of your soul's walk in this life. The North Node on your astrological chart, your divine purpose. Anyway, thank you, and feel free to leave questions at the email for moonstar@moonstarlodge.com. And I promise to do a whole medicine wheel video that doesn't relate to new moon or full moon in the next couple of weeks, because people are asking questions and asking me to give further information, so I'm happy to do that. Thank you, blessings, and aho.